Hey everyone. So in past videos, we've talked about the Wwise Unity connection, where we're able to bring Wwise banks and Wwise projects within Unity to use them. And the way that we do that typically is to use the Wwise picker and drag these Wwise actions out onto different objects, different game objects in the world. And when we pass through them through an on trigger, for instance, this one here, when we go through it, we use the is trigger. And on this one, what we're doing is we're calling an event called start game. And we've done that primarily through dragging and dropping. But what if we wanted to use code to do some of this? And there's a way to do that with inside of Wwise. We can actually use code to do that. Now, it's interesting to note that every single one of these AKA objects is actually a script. But it's given us a little bit of a front end so that when we drag and drop, we don't have to look at that code behind the scenes. In this video, we are going to look behind the scenes a little bit and teach you about just several different methods that you can use in your own projects to trigger Wwise directly. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to save this scene as a new scene. I'll call it level 2. And put it in my assets folder, and I'm going to get rid of some of the older objects that I'm not going to use. So here we go. Those are the objects that I want to get rid of, so I'll go ahead and delete those ones. Okay, and now I'm going to show you kind of a new paradigm. I'm going to show you it first, and I'm going to reconstruct it with another object. So I have a single cube that what I've done is created a script for that, and let's take a look at what script is on it. Okay, this is what the script looks like. These are two libraries I'm inserting basically to bring in all this extra code that I don't want to code from scratch. And so that's kind of these up here. They're kind of like plugins for virtual instruments or stuff. I basically loaded up the violin patch and I've loaded up the viola patch, right? But instead, I've loaded in libraries of code. And then what I'm doing is defining the script itself by giving it a name, calling it test script, and then because it's mono behavior, that's a script from Unity itself, which is nice. It brings in a couple of special functions. One is called start, which means when this script starts, it's going to do these things in between these two brackets. Now, I don't have anything in there, so basically when this script starts, nothing happens, which is fine. But when we trigger it, when we use the on trigger enter, so basically over here I have this this cube here. When we trigger the box collider by checking is trigger, it's going to call this script. And what does this script do? It does three things. It basically talks to the audio kinetic sound engine, or Wwise, and it posts one event, and that event is called start game. And the next one it does is it sets the state to chase, and then it sets an RPTC value called cutoff. So I've set up my project in Wwise already, and there's an event inside of it called start game. In fact, if I go over here to the Wwise picker, you can see start game, because I've imported that. And I can call that through a script that's over here. So let's check it out, and then build our own so that you know exactly what's going on. So here I go. I press play. It's loading the bank for me on the Wwise global already. So as soon as it does that, then I can basically enter this and trigger that script. It starts the game and sets a state for me, and also calls that RPTC value. So let's build another object. Let's build a sphere in our world. So let's go ahead and build a sphere. So 3D object sphere in our world. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a component onto that, which will be a new script. So you can type in script up here. I'm going to type new script, and I'm going to call it Wwise script. Create and add, and you can see it's added it down here. By the way, I want to make sure that this is a trigger too, because we're going to basically walk through it and make something happen through this script. When I double click on the script here, it will bring it up over in my editor, And you can see that's inserted a bunch of stuff for me already. In fact, it's inserted Unity Engine and System, so it's brought those plugins basically saying, bring in all that code for me so you don't have to write it. It's called it Wwise script, and it's basing it on, it's bringing all the Unity behaviors, which includes start and update, and there are a few other ones like destroy, which gets rid of an object and things like that. Those are already pre-written for us. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in the update here, I'm going to do nothing because I don't need it to update, but I do need a different special keyword script, which is on trigger enter. So on trigger enter, like that. Give it two parentheses, and then I have to start my function and finish my function. Okay? So on trigger enter is a special keyword basically within Unity that says when I collide with that script, trigger this script here. So I'm going to put some functions inside of the on trigger enter that represent that basically go over to Wwise and call it. So over here you can see that in my initial script I do the same thing, on trigger enter. And I'm going to take this and just copy it and show you how this works. So this is my first function, and basically I'm posting an event to the AK sound engine. This is what you need to kind of, this is the line of code that you need. And this could be anything. Depends on what you've already put in Wwise. If you've created an event in Wwise saying trigger sound, then that's what you put here. Mine happens to be start game. That's what my event within Wwise that I already created is. Now, I put a comma there because it also needs some other data. Audio Kinetic, this AK sound engine, also needs to know where is Wwise living. Where is the Audio Kinetic listener? And in order to find it, I use this function here, and you can just copy this out. Game object, it's looking for a game object, saying find that game object with the tag main camera. So it's basically going out to find the main camera because the Audio Kinetic sound engine, this over here, needs to talk to the correct place, and Wwise is on the main camera. All right. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to call a specific. I want to post another event. So I'm going to write this from scratch. AK sound engine dot post event. So I'm looking at the sound engine. I'm posting event. This is the same event that you have in Wwise, and then I need to go over to Wwise. Let's go back over to Unity and say, oh, let's do set state fight. That's an event that I have here, so I'll go ahead and type that in, set state fight. Then I have to give it the game object where Wwise exists. So I do that here. And then I have to make sure to close the parentheses and add a semicolon at the end. So basically all I'm doing is starting the game, and then I'm setting the state to fight. So let's go ahead and try it out in the game. I save that, I go over here. I have to basically walk through my sphere in order for that to happen because I have my sphere set up so that the is trigger is set, and I have my Wwise script there. Hit play, and here we go. There's my sphere. Cool. So it's working. So you can set any event that way. You can go here and post any event. The last thing I'm going to show you is the thing that I did in my initial script, which is set our PTC value. Instead of posting an event, I'm going to actually set one of the game parameters. I only have one game parameter, which I've called cutoff over in Wwise. I've actually created that in Wwise, and I called it cutoff. I'll show you that in a minute. And I can set that value to whatever. And all it's doing right now is setting the volume of the switch container. So I'm setting the voice volume of the switch container. So I'm going to change that to 3. It goes from 0 to 100, but I'm going to change it to 3. And so when I do the same thing, what I should be hearing is a very quiet version of my project. So here we go, of my switch. So it's really quiet in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. Hopefully you can. All right, let's open up my Wwise project just so that you can see what that looks like too. So I have Wwise, And I'll go ahead and open up that project. Open other, I'm going to go to my desktop, which is where this stuff is located, and it's in use Wwise Unity integration, and here's my Wwise branching project that I've set up, and I'll just hit OK. And then you can see that in the Game Syncs tab, I have a special parameter called cutoff. And that basically is using the RPTC is selected so that on my music switch container, I have an RPTC routed to the voice volume, which basically goes like this. And that is today's lesson. Just to kind of review, I have an object in the world, I add a script to that object, and then within that, what I can do is I can go over and I can post events using this line of code here, AK Sound Engine post event, the event name, start game. Let's go look at that too. Just over here in Wwise, I can look at my events. I have an event called start game, and what does it do? It sets the state to none, and it actually switches, it starts playing my music switch container. Then I post another event, set state fight, and that's what this looks like. It's just setting the player state to fight. And then lastly, we use this RPTC value cutoff, which is in my Game Syncs tab right here. By the way, my player state is right here too with fight, explore, and chase. All right, let me know if you have questions, and good luck.